I want you to meet a young man, Mark La Liberty, who has seen the ceilings collapse over his head, the walls breathing, and his arms melting away, all from massive doses of LSD. And when he wasn't tripping, he was stoned or drunk. But now a year has passed since Mark has touched drugs or alcohol, and we welcome him this morning. Good morning to you, Mark. And Julie Stillwell is here. Julie was too busy drinking and snorting cocaine to finish high school, but her entrance into the working world was not successful either. She had 8 different jobs and was fired from every one of them. But now Julie's dangerous addiction to drugs and alcohol has finally ended. If you're a teenager, a young person, or close to someone with a serious drug addiction, please give us a call. Meet Kelly Clark. He heads the outpatient program at Fuller Memorial Sanatorium's New Day Center in Attleboro, where both Mark and Julie were treated. Good morning to all of you. Start with your story. How old were you when you started? And it was booze was the first drug of choice for you, right?
Yeah, booze, speed, Valiums, whatever I could get my hands on.
You were in the 6th grade?
The end of 6th grade when I was introduced to drinking. A friend of mine and I, we used to stay over his house on like Friday night. His parents would go out and we'd get drunk and then go out and try to cause some trouble. You
were telling me in the green room you had you loved food.
Yeah.
And food eating used to make you happy.
Right? Yeah, when I was younger. I'd say in the 6th grade I weighed about 235 pounds.
Wow. So low self-esteem?
Very low self-esteem.
You were introduced to speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That made me feel good about myself. That made me feel that I could take out anything or take on anybody.
Now this went on, your addiction, through really all of your high school years, didn't it?
Yeah, up until the middle of my junior year.
When I said you saw ceilings collapse and your arms melting away, I mean, yeah, I'm serious. Those were your hallucinations, weren't they?
Yeah, I seen, well, it wasn't as if it was collapsing, but it was like caving in on me.
Yeah.
And my arms, the way a candle melts.
Yeah.
That's what I seen my arms doing.
Never frightened enough to get off?
I enjoyed it.
You did?
Yeah.
What have you missed in your life?
Because of the drugs? Well, I missed a lot. I really don't know too much of what I missed because I never experienced, but I lost a lot of good friends because of it. I destroyed a relationship with my parents, but now I'm building it back up. I lost a lot of fun activities in school.
How about education?
Oh, geez, this year alone I'm just starting to be able to read.
Really? Did you go to school high, Mark?
If I went, yeah.
If you went at all?
If I even went.
Didn't anybody ever confront you?
Yeah, in my sophomore year of high school, somebody confronted me about it, but nothing really extensive.
Did you con the world away from the issue?
Yeah, I tried to dope fiend the world away from, you know, it's not me, it's the world that's wrong, not me.
Yeah, your dad, you were brought in by the police in the 7th grade, drunk as a skunk. I mean, you slept it off. What did your father think then?
Well, he treated it as if it was the first time that it happened, and he tried to talk to me, and that just didn't work. He tried being real understanding about it, but I didn't care. That's all a druggie needs, right? It's a little understanding to make him go back and do more drugs, huh? Oh, yeah.
Your job was pretty amazing. I'm amazed that you still have your limbs. Tell everyone what you did.
Well, I worked with a rotary blade, and I cut chains for bracelets and necklaces and things like that. And a couple times I seen the rotary blade expand and contract. I mean, expand, I mean by like 6 to 8 inches.
Because you trip on LSD and go into work.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Don't you feel lucky?
Extremely lucky.
Julie, your story. Again, a lack of self-esteem, do you suppose, got you started? You were a cheerleader in school. I mean, on the surface, I suppose, everybody thought you were pretty cool and pretty popular.
Pretty much.
What started it?
Just wanted to be somebody, wanted to be in the right crowd, wanted to be known.
When you look back now at the right crowd, what do you think of them?
They were the right crowd.
They were? Still in your mind?
Oh, no, I meant the other crowd. The people who I thought really, they were just going the same way I was going.
Losers? I mean, you were telling me that.
I won't say losers, just people who just think life's just a big party, you know, like I did.
Yeah. What about reality for you?
Reality is something that I didn't want to face. I was afraid to face it. I didn't think that I could face reality.
So your drug of choice primarily was cocaine.
Cocaine.
Right? Before you took your first hit, how did you feel about the drug?
I was afraid because I've heard things about it, that it was addictive and stuff like that. and I just didn't want to get myself into it. But the person told me to make me feel good, and that it wouldn't happen to me.
In the beginning, it probably did make you feel good, right?
It did.
When you couldn't get Coke one night, this is a horrific story. You couldn't get it. You got in a car, didn't even ask if you could take the car.
No.
And drove all over trying to find it, didn't you? And that was really the breaking point for you, wasn't it, that night?
Yes, it was.
What happened?
I was out all night, and I was drinking, and I was having cocaine, and I went back to a house because everything else had closed. And I went to where I knew there was pot at the time. There was pot there, and there was nips and all that. And I went there, and I smoked the pot, and I still had cocaine, and I finished the cocaine, and I was still drinking, and while I was still drinking, I needed the cocaine. I needed it. And I couldn't get it, and I took someone's car without asking. I drove to about 6 different cities to get it. It was like 5 in the morning. Everybody was sleeping, I was up by myself. And I was mad at the world. You know, I was like, where is everybody? I need it. I had a bottle of no-dose with me. And I took the no-dose, and I emptied it, and I started cutting them up and doing that. And just the point of needing that, and I couldn't get it no more. That's what I was like, you know, I do have a problem.
You went crazy. I mean, you were screaming and...
hyperventilating, I was panicking, I was pacing the floors, I was grabbing my head.
So you got yourself into a treatment center, a
Yeah,
place
I
where
did.
they'd let you scream, at least, that night, and then you got yourself into treatment. Did it
Yeah.
work the first time?
Well, this was the second time I went to Fuller. It did work. I was at Fuller in March, back in March, and I was there for suicide because I didn't like what I was doing. I knew I was getting hit in the face with reality. I was finally getting the truth thrown in my face, and I didn't want to deal with it, and I didn't want to drink and drug anymore. I just didn't want to do anything. And I was put in Fuller, the Unit 1, the psychiatric ward, and I was there for 4 weeks, and I was told that I had a problem with alcohol and drugs. And I just didn't believe him. I was like, no way. And a lot of that had to do with my age, too.
Because you couldn't relate to people in meetings. You needed young people, didn't you, around you who were
Yeah.
talking the same story?
Yeah.
Now, how is life different?
It's just, I have a better way of life. I look at things in a different way. Today, I am worth something, which I never thought I was. You know, I know that if I keep up with it, stay straight, that good things will happen to me. You know, whereas before, everything I did was just a failure. I couldn't hold on to anything, jobs, school, relationships.
Was it a failure because of Julie or a failure because of substance?
It was a failure because of Julian, both.
But the substance didn't help. I mean, did you think in
No.
the beginning that would help? The drugs
No,
and
I knew.
alcohol?
I just didn't care anymore. I knew it was bringing me downhill. I knew that something would happen to me. That's what I wanted. I wanted to die at the time.
Talk about this, Kelly. What are we hearing here? Pretty typical stories?
Yes, I think so. I think that kids generally get involved with drugs and alcohol to make them feel better, either to relieve anxiety or low self-esteem or just the general pressures and tensions of living, of going to school. And drugs connect for some people. It changes them. It does the trick.
Yeah,
with some
emotionally,
kids.
you stopped growing, I guess, the minute you started doing drugs and stuff. You feel that way, Mark?
Oh yeah, I know that. Even now I deal with some problems. Like if I get aggravated with somebody or something, the first thing I do is I start pouting.
So you're really more emotionally 13 than
Yeah,
19, huh?
yeah.
You got to start all over again.
Yeah.
How about for you, Julie? You feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
Did you lose a lot of yourself because of
I
it?
lost self-value, self-worth. I lost a lot. Not in material things, I didn't lose that much, but what I needed to survive, I lost.
We're talking about issues where good parents couldn't do any good. That's pretty much true across the board, isn't it? What can a good parent do if they really know down deep inside their kid is doing drugs?
Well, I think that often is a hurdle, getting to the point where you really can't admit it. None of us really want to admit that somebody close to us has a serious alcohol or drug problem. That's sort of the first step. The next thing is being able to talk about it. It's not something that you want to say, well, maybe it'll go away if I don't talk about it. And to begin to get information, to begin to get help. And you can get that by calling treatment centers. Generally, if you've got a teenager with a substance abuse problem, you're going to need professional help at some point, and better now than later.
And I don't know if this will do any good, because it probably wouldn't if you were both listening and high, but if somebody is out there, because this is a day off from school and you're in the kind of pain that you've heard Julie and Mark talk about, then get off the vicious circle, because there's no end but death unless you get straight, right?